great distraction, especially if you need to go to your phone. So how do you manage to stay focused on not overdoing, like I'm not using this app way too much, I should be doing work, and how do you manage that distraction, that technological pitfall?
That's a good question, because I think a lot of people struggle with it. So I tend to spend 90% of my time in the doing part of things. So I'm either like working, because I work freelance during the day doing marketing. So I spend most of my time doing that. And I spend about 5 to 10% of my time planning, which I think is a good range. I think, so for example, let's say you do this is testing my maths now, like an 8 to 9 hour day, then I think up to half an hour of planning separated across your day is a good amount of time. So maybe as you start your day, in the middle of your day, to recap what your morning was like, and then at the end of your day, so that you're prepared for the next day. So I really don't think, I think people, because people have these attractive applications, they think that they're lured into spending all their time there. And it's almost like going to the shop, buying a planner or a diary and going, I'm productive because I have this. It's not a reality really, because and also in the same extent, if you've got a diary and you're holding it up and you're writing and spending all your time in it, you're not productive.
Exactly.
Because you're not going out and doing. So a really good book that this is like book recommendation.
It's perfect. I love
it. Deep Work by Cal Newport. I managed to read it in the summertime. Love that one. That one where he goes into a bit more detail.
Well, it's
you've
there,
got it there.
Listening to the conversation there.
I still bring it out, but let people see it, because sometimes the cover makes it a bit easier. Brilliant. So that one, what I really like about it is it's all about focusing your attention on one thing, or putting your time into a segment of things. And a lot of people use something called the Pomodoro technique to start working on timing and doing 25 minutes, 5 minutes off, 25 minutes on, which I think is a brilliant start process. So if you're looking and you don't necessarily want to read Deep Work, then Pomodoro technique is probably the one thing to focus on, because it will help you with avoiding your phone distractions, avoiding a conversation with your colleague, or making yourself the millionth tea of the morning. Or coffee.
For the ones listening and don't know about the Pomodoro technique, is basically you work for 25 minutes and then you rest for 5 minutes and then you start over, and then there's a period where you have a longer break, like 15 minutes, and then you have like a timer running. That can be on your phone, or it can be just like a kitchen timer. Actually, I bought one just so that I don't need to check my phone and just to ring. Just to stay far away as possible from my phone as possible. If you're doing deep work, as you're saying, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. And even sometimes when I'm editing videos and I need to do a quick Google search or just go on YouTube to check a video, and then it just
spirals out.
And it's really frustrating afterwards, because it's a work in process.
I blame partly YouTube though, because the recommendation section is so good. Like in the last maybe year, it's gotten even better, and I always find videos where I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this, but procrastination I think happens to everyone. Maybe me and you are a good example. Maybe people who have been able to master the tools they've got probably procrastinate, mainly because it's a natural human trait. But I think things like the Pomodoro timer and the technique does help that a bit, because that 5 minutes that you do have a break, you can do that sort of thing. So there are techniques and mechanisms to avoid that.
Because it is really dangerous. It segues into a nice topic that I wanted to cover, because you work remotely, or you are independent from, I guess, location if you wanted to, right? And you make your schedule, let's say. You have to plan everything out. And actually, you did a nice video recently about your routine. I really enjoyed seeing that one, just from beginning to end, and was really cool to see. So, because I think, to be honest, I'm planning in going that way too. So I'm planning, and I'm really nervous and scared of falling into that pitfall of YouTube because I don't have a schedule. So is it just a matter of getting used to that rhythm, or you have really, really rigid rules that you follow for yourself?
Yeah, I think that it's great that you're looking at that option. When I first started, I did like probably yourself. I was in an office full time, regular hours, and I did that for my year. And then I came back for my final year at university, and then I started doing it from there. And now I sort of do it full time, which is great. I think the one thing that you have to do is have a really crunched down schedule. It does seem a bit brutal at the start, but once you get into the flow of things, maybe, that 28-day rule, or I can't remember how many days it is you have to do of them. Mm-hmm. Once you get into that routine, you then can start modifying it a little more. And it's actually something that Mike Vardy, who I'm actually chatting to later today about for a video, he talks a little bit more about it, day theming, which is quite cool. So theming your days based on different activities. So for myself, like Tuesdays and Mondays tend to be content creation day. Wednesdays and Thursdays tend to be meetings, so that I'm batching all of my items based on my energy levels. Yeah. But yeah, I think my biggest recommendation to you is that there's no real like rule to it. Like when I started, like it was like really weird because I was like, no one's over my shoulder. No one's checking that I'm doing stuff. But I think that you have to communicate using the team communication tools on a regular basis and keep things short and precise with your colleagues. Make sure you've honed in on your schedule. Just make sure you've got everything planned. Make sure you clock out as well. Because I mean, apart from this week when I'm doing like a fair amount of podcasts in the evening, I do tend to clock out at like 5 or 6 o'clock to spend time with my fiance, friends, family. So just making sure that you do, because when you work from home, your brain like can sometimes associate, like this bit of the room here is my desk area, right? Over there's a sofa. Here is work, that's relaxation, and that can sometimes play on your mind a little. So making sure that you dedicate a specific area for your work, I think is a good thing that I'd recommend. Like I sometimes do a bit of work on the sofa, but I tend to never be as productive. Yeah. So making sure that you separate the two things, because it can be a bad habit to fall into. Yeah.
So you separate both activities and space, and that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I like to go. I go to a ton of coffee shops in my day.
I saw in the video.
Like, I think today I went to like 4, but I can go up to 7 coffee shops because you're probably wondering my coffee bill is bloody massive. It can be sometimes, but what I like to do is if I'm working with different types of people, I like to move around to these different locations because some reason it just helps me break away to work with these different people and different clients remotely, because I can, or like let's say you're doing it with an activity, you can work, and sometimes the fact that you're in a space with other people gives you the environment like you're in a workspace, and a bit of accountability. But it is also your own time and your own space, technically. Yeah,
I also find that if I'm in the cafe, I need to be performing well because someone might be watching over the shoulder.
Yeah. But I think it's a really it's a really positive thing. One other thing I'd recommend is there's loads of like Slack channels, loads of like people on Twitter that are just talking about remote work. And for me, I find a new remote working tip like every day or two from someone else who's been able to do it. And And that's really beneficial because you slowly build up this picture, like custom tips, and you can like hack it together and make it even more. But again, time. It just like it's taken me the 2 years I've done remote work and the year before I did that with other bits of work. I just experience it. You just have to work out what the mistakes are, the good things and bad things, isn't it?
Yeah. It's my goal is exactly that, to be like I don't know if you're into Gary Vaynerchuk, but he says one thing that is dying on your swords. So I just gonna hopefully start doing this full time, and just if I fail, I fail, and it's like a carrot in front of the donkey to just keep myself focused and just being productive.
I think as well though, remote work isn't for everyone. I think if you find 3 months in, maybe talk about doing a 3-month trial or something like that with your boss and reviewing it. The reason why I say that is because some people are naturally good in an office environment and they can keep themselves more accountable. They can work harder in the office scenario. So I wouldn't rule office work out for yourself. You might find a couple of months in that you were better in the office, but you only find that out from doing it, right? But I do think as well, like something you might have noticed I think you might have seen the video I posted, the unproductive one, right? The routine. That you might have noticed. I'm on my own for quite a lot of the day, and remote work can technically be a little lonely. I think I had a bit of imposter syndrome a couple of months ago, and at that time I was thinking about like being lonely at work, and I think sometimes the way that I counteracted that was by putting a podcast in my ear most of the time, and it almost felt like I was in an environment or listening to music most of the time. But then again, that's just one of the. There's ways to counteract it, like find a co-working space that has other people. So you almost have colleagues, but they're not colleagues because they won't distract you about the same job you're doing, potentially.
And you do have the community you're building for Keep Productive. So I guess it's also you can just jump in and talk to someone that needs your help, and I guess that will help you a lot.
100%.
Yeah, I've been also digging into more like nomads, like digital nomads, and it's usually like they show like these vlogs where you are like in Bali working, like it's amazing, but then they don't usually talk about like the negative or the side effects of this type of work, which is being lonely or not being able to form like these deeper relationships because you're always moving around and you are just making friends that are, they are still good acquaintances, and depending of the type of connection, it can be nice to just leave afterwards. but you cannot really build anything that will.
I agree with you. I think that the nomad thing is quite interesting. I think that if I didn't find a almost wife for the summer, I'm getting married in the summer, then I would probably, thank you, I would probably be doing a lot of that, because it's a good and weird opportunity to explore the world, because you're working but you're also traveling. And I know a fair amount of people who do it, and they're quite good at it. It depends on what type of person you are. I counteract it by visiting like local cities in like Birmingham, Exeter, London. They're all in the UK, and then I like maybe every 2 to 3 months, and that tends to be a good bit of practice for me, because I get to see a new city. I get to work from other coffee shops, and it's quite nice actually.
And you get to explore really a city, not just go to each capital and just see like the train station or like something else and just say that you were there. I guess I even prefer like you're doing, just going and really going from coffee shop, just walking the streets and experiencing as a local, I guess. Yeah.
Plus, I get my fitness in for that.
Yeah.
Like, I think each coffee shop's like 15-minute, well, not 15 minutes, 10 to 15-minute walk
Walks.
between each one. So I'm getting like, if I do if I do a loop of Plymouth back home, I think I do a good amount of fitness.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes really hard to get in if you're an office employee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's a win-win.
plus you get the coffee, so your metabolism is faster, so you burn fat faster.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't drink coffee, but I drink tea. But
Okay.
yeah, it's the same sort of thing, right?
Yeah. And by the way, you talking about fitness and apps, what do you have, like an app you use for fitness, more for working out or something like that?
I don't have that many. I'm just going to have a look because I think I've got like writer's block in terms of apps. I use an app called Asana Rebel. I don't know whether you've heard of it. It's like
Rebel.
Asana Rebel.
No, I don't.
It's a bit of a weird name. It's a app for yoga. So I do like 5 to 10 minute yoga sessions in the morning, and that's quite a nice way of starting the day because you get a bit of stretching in. Body. So that's good.
Yeah, I did some too today. It really helps. Yeah.
Okay, try out that app because it's actually really good. I'll send it to you after.
Okay.
But I don't really, just looking at this, I don't really have like a set app that I use for fitness. I'm more like log it.
Okay.
I don't really log fitness that much. I used to do it a lot more than I do now, but I used to like log all of the activities I did. But I just tend to do it. I don't like. I used to track all of my runs, track all of that, and I think it sort of got away from me. Like, I didn't want to spend too much time on the numbers side of things. I just wanted the enjoyment of working out.
Just working out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually would use Fitocracy. It's a great one to just track in the gym, like the repetitions, all of that, so that you don't need your notebook there, and and also for some, I think 2 months in a row, I was tracking macros, calories.
Oh yeah, I used to do that too.
Yeah, and it was MyFitnessPal was amazing.
Yeah,
but again, the same thing. At some point, I was like, this is way too much work. I was like, before eating, I was like spending 15 minutes just figuring out what was in my plate.
Yeah, and then you're like, the food's cold. Damn it.
Yeah.
I think like I used to track macros quite a lot. I used it. I think it was either MyFitnessPal or another one. It's going to annoy me. I'll send it to you after as well. But that was always a good way. I tend to do macros in my head now, like because I eat sort of routine meals anyway, so I know sort of the macros for them. But yeah, that can be a good way to do it. Depends on how much you want to go into fitness, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for productivity, right? So circling back, you can just go crazy and track everything.
Yeah.
And
you could be the self-quantified person. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's really felt also that at some point I was also in tracking way too much, just too much information that at the end I was not doing anything with it. So I was just like all that data, and then I was like, I'm spending all this time, and at the end I don't do anything with it. So I guess there's no point in doing more instead of planning more.
Yeah. And I mean, it's something that like sometimes like I do a lot of boxing these days, and with 4 ounce gloves, so I don't really know if it's boxing. But I like doing that because there's no metrics necessarily attached to it. You're just punching a bag. So you can only like
count or
20 minutes. Yeah. 8 bunches, So, but I think that it depends on what sort of person you are. Like if you're someone that goes back over that data and works out how they can improve their next week, maybe it's beneficial.
Yeah.
It's a bit like a journal, isn't it? I don't know whether you journal.
Yeah, we were talking before bullet journal, so I have that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
that, do you ever go back over your